welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie.
I'm Brittany.
And today we're going to be doing a weird video that we've been kind of planning in the background for a while. Brittany and I are both slightly obsessed with TikTok. And we've both naturally made our way onto BookTok. So we've decided to try and make a video and our own little weird book club on reading BookTok books.
Yay.
So when we were putting this list together, we have like 5 different piles, separating them out.
Yes.
So first we're going to go over the 4 books that we have that neither of us have read and that we're prioritizing into our future TBRs. And so for November, we have both picked Gild by Raven Kennedy. Do you have any idea what this is about? It's a girl who's gold and lives in a cage.
I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Faye.
Excellent.
I read the first page.
Okay. I know she's gold because I've seen fan.
But that's all I know about it, is that I think she belongs to a Fae.
Yeah.
King?
She's like, I think it's like a Midas gender bend where she turns things into gold.
I think so.
So he has her caged.
Yes.
It's a smut book as well. A lot of these are.
Yep.
And I don't care.
I have Kindle Unlimited specifically for this book.
This whole series. Because this series isn't done. It's got like another book coming out in January, I think. But it's like book 7, so we got some time.
Yes, BookTok made me re-download and re-sign up for Kindle Unlimited. So
I
here we go.
I like hard copies.
Yeah.
For December, we have decided on Neon Gods by Katee Roberts. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling that's just dirty. That's all I know about it. And I really liked A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair, which is also a Hades retelling, but that one has a lot more books and is solely focused on that couple with a few other books. This is just a standalone. And either way, I'm kind of into it. Plus, I think this one it's not like their gods, it's their titles and their mob bosses. I'm pretty sure that's what this is.
Sounds about right.
I know that this one was set up differently than whereas like A Touch of Darkness, they're the actual gods. Yeah. This one, I think it's like Hades is a title or something like that. I don't know. Don't care. The next one that we have will probably slot somewhere in early 2022, and that is The Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Susanne Valenti.
Yep.
It's dirty Harry Potter? I don't know. I know it's at a school. And it's magic. I know it has the taboo teacher-student relationship, and it's like 7 books long. And they're big.
And they get bigger.
And they get bigger. I ordered this, and I was expecting it to be like a normal romance novel about yay big. No. It's a monster.
And I've seen a full stack of like the series so far, and it's like this
they're
big.
Huge.
It's huge. Not ready.
No. So that's why this one wasn't picked immediately.
No.
And the last one that neither of us have read that we're really excited to read is Fortuna Sworn by K.J. Sutton. This I know is a Fae one, and this one starts off as N.A., but slowly builds through a plot to more adult, which I know we both really like. See ACOTAR for references.
Yes.
And one other thing is, I know we're going to a Polycon later, and K.J. Sutton will also be there. So I want to read all of her books so I can get them signed. So our other piles that we have, I've read a fair amount of BookTok related ones because I have no impulse control. So I have Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Mansicalco, which is a story of a girl who makes a deal with the sin of wrath to try and avenge her sister. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it, I think, 4.5 or 5 stars. I liked it, and someone is currently reading it and has a different opinion.
I honestly blame the narrator for the audiobook. So I've been listening to it for a couple of days now, and I think it might just be the narration of it, because like I want to like the story. I think it's an interesting story, but the way the main character is being narrated right now, she's annoying and driving me nuts.
See, I can see that. So I can see that because her voice in my head was not like annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'm weird. I'm not a huge fan of accents. And the narrator has like a British Italian accent. It's really weird, guys, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Is it fake or is it real?
It might be fake.
That could also be doing
That's probably what's wrong. But I'm enjoying the story. The actual story is really interesting and really intriguing. It's just the narration's throwing me off.
And this is a YA book, but the sequel just dropped, and I believe this is going to be a trilogy or a quartet. The sequel I have heard is not YA.
I've heard it's more NA.
Yeah, I have as well. And again, please see ACOTAR for references. I love that shit.
Me too.
The other one that I picked it up. I wanted to read this for a really long time, and BookTok sort of made me do the push. And that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I read Circe when it came out and loved it. I honestly didn't know she had another book out until BookTok. And I felt a little ashamed of that, so I read this. I gave it 5 stars, and I sobbed. It's sad. It's the story of Achilles and Patroclus, but like not what we assume is the actual story. A lot of different things show them as cousins or friends. This one shows them as lovers, which is more realistic to what history tells us, opposed to what the media has been telling us about their story. I don't know if you all saw the Brad Pitt version of Troy, but they were cousins in that, and that's how I always thought until I read this book. They're not cousins.
First one for me is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I read this beginning of September, and I think I gave it a 4-ish out of 5. I was really intrigued by this book because I heard a lot of it's ACOTAR meets The Cruel Prince, and I'm like, I dig all of that. Yes, please sign me up, because I actually just finished listening to ACOTAR again for the second time this year, and so I was like, sign me up. I really enjoyed the story. It was very unique. The magic system is really interesting, and the twist in the last 10 pages makes me want the sequel now.
I don't even think the title or release date has been announced.
It's not.
You hate to see it.
So it's really rough, because you're thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden, it's the last 10 pages, and you're like, okay, cool. So that's where I'm at with it.
The most recent book that gave me that was The Prison Healer, and that was the last page of the book. I read it, and my brain went, I'm sorry, what?
Honestly, though, like, seriously, last 10 pages, I'm like, where is this going? Because you're set up for this one part of the story, the main stubbornness of the story, and then it goes off the deep end, so you're like, okay, great.
Love it. Love books like these. Next, I have The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I gave this 5 stars. This was definitely worth the hype. This follows this like weird storyline on if magical aspects were in our world, but you add the mundane and bureaucracy to it. So we're following this main character who basically works for Magical Child Services, and he visits orphanages to make sure that they're up to par for the magical children that are living there. So he goes to this one that's off the Cerulean Sea because the child there is the son of Lucifer.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah. So we have this 6-year-old kid named Lucy who is adorable. Aww. And he's just... it's so heartwarming and adorable, and the world is so unique, and it's... The last, I think, 50 or 100 pages, I'm just sobbing. Because oh my god, it's so good. Worth the hype, all of it. The other book that I have that was gifted to me by one of the book clubs that I joined because of BookTok is Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I'm on book 5, in case you're wondering how my reading of this is going. We're following a bunch of they're all 22-year-olds who are abducted from their beds and wake up on a spaceship, but then the spaceship crash lands on an ice planet, and this one girl leaves the spaceship to go explore and finds a big blue man who really likes her.
I can't keep a straight face. I'm trying.
This book is just, you go into this thinking it's pure smut, because I think it starts on like page 10. So go into that with this, but I like to think of these as like palate cleansers. Yeah. After I've read a crap ton of high fantasy, I want to pick up something that my brain can just turn off.
Yep.
These. I'm on Ice Planet Holiday, which is perfect and right on cue.
So the next book is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I gave this like a 3.5, 4-ish, I think. I've been really bad with rating books lately, guys, if you can't tell. So this one was a really nice summer read for me. It was kind of like one of those palate cleansers where I didn't really have to do much to pay attention. It follows 2 authors, and they kind of switch genres to kind of give each other the appreciation. So you follow them kind of testing out the waters and doing their research, and it's actually really interesting, and then they fall magically in love.
Because it's like a guy attempting to write romance, and then a girl trying to write fiction, or it's like a
serious
novel.
Yeah, like a serious fiction. Okay. So she's a romance novel she's a romance author, goodness gracious, and she's in a really rough spot because she finds out that the life that she was raised in was not real, basically. Ooh. And she's kind of figuring out what went wrong, and it's a journey for both characters, which I really enjoyed. So there is some smut, but it's not like the forefront of...
This one's more about like character development and character driven, right? Yep. I have heard that. It's a romance, really, but it's also fiction.
Yeah, but it's really good too, because like my entire summer was mostly adult romance, and this was one where I really fell in love with the characters more so than falling in love with like the smutty part of the book. So, but don't get me wrong, there is smut and it is nice. It's just not the forefront of the book like some of the other adult romances.
The other one that I've seen going around on TikTok as well is Colleen Hoover. The main one that I've seen for her is It Ends With Us, which I learned the other day is being made into a film.
Really?
Being directed by Jason Baldoni, who was the star as Raphael in Jane the Virgin, which was one of my favorite shows. Nice. And I'm really excited about it. And so I picked up this one because it was the one I saw the most, but really I just saw a ton of Colleen Hoover, and this was the one I figured I'd start with. Mm-hmm. Now, I went into Colleen Hoover because she was always lumped in with, like, the great book boyfriends and romance stuff. So I went into this thinking it was a romance. Don't make my mistakes. Don't make my mistakes. This, yes, it does have very romance-esque elements. It has smut. It has really good character relationships. It is not a romance.
Oh.
No. We are following... No.
Not a romance.
No.
Okay.
I did give this 5 stars. Sobbed through the last half of this book. We're following a girl in 2 different timelines. We're following her in the present as she's trying to opening a bakery. No, flower shop. She's trying to open her own flower shop, which has been her dream her entire life. So we're following her in that timeline. We're also following her as a teenager where she becomes friends with a homeless boy next door and starts to fall for him. And they seem like very not connected, but they're very connected, and this book was so poignant and beautifully written. It is very hard-hitting. There are a lot of heavy topics within this book, but it is fantastic. And the last one that I have for my list is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai, China. And instead of rivaling families, they're rivaling mob bosses. Mob families. Which is really interesting. So we're following Juliet and Roma as they have to attempt to try and get along as a weird sickness is killing off people and their family business. And they have this very hot, cold, very Jude and Carden relationship, which is fantastic. I loved this. I think I gave this 4 to 4.5 stars. It was great. And the sequel drops next month, I believe, and I'm super pumped for it. Also, I follow the author on TikTok. She's hysterical. She's a 22-year-old, and she's hysterical, and I love her. Follow her if you're not on there.
So, kind of going off of it, I want to mention The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It is a 4 or 5 standalone series, and it all follows the hockey guys and their female friends. They're more than just friends, though. And this one starts with very hot topics. So it does have sexual assault elements to it. Not present in the story, but she's kind of coming over it. That happened in high school. And he kind of teaches her how to enjoy sex again. It is amazing. And it's more of an emotional connection. It starts off with him failing a philosophy midterm and wanting her to tutor him, and turns into a big mess, but a beautiful mess. And I fell in love with the story. I absolutely love hockey, and it was very interesting to read it. It reminded me a lot of Good Luck Charm as well. So it was really interesting, but it is kind of a heavy-hitting topic, and I believe almost all of her books have a very heavy-hitting topic.
Yeah, they're romance with really good smut, but they also center a lot of really good, dark, deep topics.
Yep. And it is really well done where it's not, I want to say trashy. It's not the forefront of the story, but it's still there, and it's not unrealistic, if that makes sense. It actually seems like she's writing this character like she experienced something like this or talked to somebody that experienced it. So I thought it was really well done, but I won't put off if anyone else thinks it was not, kind of thing. It's a very delicate topic. The last one, I've seen this a lot more.
I have, yeah.
It ends. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Guys.
This is every reaction I've ever seen of this book on TikTok.
Good.
Oh my goodness.
It is so good. I actually listened to the audiobook.
Okay.
And it was one of those where I was kind of in between romances, not sure which one I wanted, and it popped up on recommended for me. I think it was after listening to one of the romances I didn't like. So I was like, I like Tessa Bailey's writing style. Let's jump on in. It is amazing, guys. I loved it. But if I go into the story, I'm going to give everything away. So all I'm going to say
I know the big one. It's a grumpy sunshine trope.
Yep.
Which I don't see done well a lot.
It is amazing.
Okay.
And it's dirty, but also in like a classy way, if that makes sense. It is very, very nice.
Because this one's also based off of Schitt's Creek, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the other thing that I've heard about.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, never seen the show.
Me either.
But I could at least equate it to something.
Yeah, basically. So that's kind of what it was, like, that's what the synopsis even says. But it is so well done. I really enjoyed it.
All right, so those are all the books that we've individually read. There are 2 books that we have both read, and we're excluding ACOTAR from this because that one's an obvious, and we talk about that a lot.
More than we should.
More than we should. I'm on my current re-list, like 3rd or 4th re-listen to the series.
Yeah.
And have no shame. So the other 2 books that we've both read is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. We talked about this, I mentioned this earlier with Neon Gods. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling. This one spans, the main series spans 4 books, and then there is a Hades' point of view of the events, which will span 3 books, and the first one for that is out, which is A Game of Fate. I've read all the ones that are out currently, and I really enjoyed this. I found it to be equally parts great plot and great romance.
Yes, I would agree. I actually just read this for our readathon, and I devoured it. I absolutely loved this story. I think it's a really interesting concept as well, where it's like Persephone's in college, no one knows she's a goddess, and then stumbles upon Hades, and it's just very well done.
Who owns like a dance club and a casino, and it's glorious.
Yes. And it makes so much sense.
It
and
does!
I was all about it. And then there's like a side plot, and like, I loved it.
It's fantastic.
It's really good.
Yep. It is, if you've ever seen or read the Lore Olympus webcomic, add adult content to that, and that's what this is.
Adult content.
You're welcome. Yeah. And the other one, which is probably, I would say, besides ACOTAR, the biggest book on TikTok right now.
Yep.
And it doesn't help that another book in this series just dropped. From Blood and Ash by JLA.
You have to get through the first 100 and 50 pages.
You do. You have to get through the first half of this book. The first book, I honestly would say, is my least favorite.
Yep, I would agree.
Because Kingdom of Flesh and Fire is probably my favorite.
It's good.
Because that's where a lot of our plot comes. So in this book, we're following Poppy, who is this chosen maiden. And her new guard, Hawk, she starts to develop feelings for. And this world has vampires, werewolves. I won't go into too much detail because a lot of the plot doesn't really start until about there.
Yeah, and it's really confusing too. Like,
And it's extremely confusing.
I had to put it down for like 3 months. Also, I tried reading it when I was wedding planning, which did not go well.
Bad plan.
Bad plan. So I picked it up and I was like, I'm just going to get through it. Let's do this. And after I got through that hump of like world building, everything started to make sense. And I was like, oh, I'm all for this. And I just finished Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and whew.
Yep, I am one of the few people who did enjoy A Crown of Gilded Bones. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I don't get why, but because after the 3rd book, I kind of had this expectation of JLA's writing in this, and I feel like people were mad because the writing style continued in A Crown of Gilded Bones.
Okay.
Which, I expected, because it was book 3.
Right.
So, which is fine. So I liked it. I liked the plot. Not a fan of that friggin' cliffhanger, though. But she did just announce book 4's title, which we all kind of guessed 3 months ago. And that is The War of Two Queens.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
because I just finished the 2nd one, so now I'm trying to piece things together.
Yeah, figure out who the two queens are. I know who the two queens are.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to find that out.
And the latest book that just dropped is A Shadow in the Ember, which is actually a prequel series following Nyktos and his consort, which we do hear a ton about in these other books.
Yes.
So I have a copy. I have yet to read it because I have heard a lot of very polarizing things about it.
I have to.
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard JLA needs a new editor. Because even on the back of the book, the edition I have, which I got the Barnes & Noble edition, it says Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, not Flesh.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. And that's on the back of the book.
Oh, no.
So I've heard there's a lot of errors, but I heard that if you don't mind reading kind of through grammatical errors, which grammatical errors never bother me, spelling errors, I kind of do the, it's spelled wrong. And then I move on.
That's kind of how I am, too. Like, I'll find things that don't make sense. I'm like,
because there's a ton of spelling errors in A Touch of Darkness series, because that's all self-published.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that these ones were originally self-published.
Yes.
They were not through a master publisher, which could have something to do with it, but JLA, please get a new editor. Because I do remember there are a couple in the first 3 books.
I think
But I heard that
yeah.
it just kind of, like, went up in scale. That or, like, people are, like, making a big deal out of a couple spelling errors because this book took off and they didn't notice it because they sped through it, and now they're noticing it because they've had some time between book 3 and then this new one.
That could be it.
That could also be it. I honestly don't think it'll bother me, but when I read it, I'll let you know.
TikTok almost spoiled it for me.
It did.
I got to one, and I was like, wait. And I had to put my phone down and finish the book. I was also trying to edit one of my book corners.
Multitasking.
Trying. I think I was uploading something. I don't even know. I got to the point. All caps. Just yelling through the phone. Because I was so... I don't even know how to explain the feelings that I had.
So the reveal that she is talking about, BookTok did ruin for me.
Oh, really?
It did. It 100% ruined it for me. But I will say, going into that book, knowing what you know, there's a different, just je ne sais quoi about it.
I could see that.
Which makes me excited to reread this, because I will probably end up rereading. I'll probably end up re-listening to these in anticipation for A War of Two Queens, which comes out March.
Yes. I will say that series gives me the same feelings I had when I first read ACOTAR, and it was what I needed.
Yes, this is one of the few series that made me feel something similar to Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, and there are only a fair few series that have given me that joy. And
honestly.
I read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass before TikTok, so yeah. That's all I've got.
Yep.
So that's all the books that we have. I'm sure this list, I think we're going to try and make this maybe a seasonal video. Let us know down below in the comments if that's something you're interested in. If there's books we missed, because we are very heavily in the romance and fantasy side of TikTok. I know there are other sides. But if there are any books that you think we should add to this, give it to us. We will look at them and most likely read them.
Most likely.
We have no imp control. None. So that's going to be it for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, with the occasional Sunday. And we will see you guys in our next video. Bye!